Ever notice how some people like just have that knack for selling? Like they could sell you the shirt off your back and you'd be happy about it. I know I've met a few. Today, we're cracking the code, diving deep into the psychology behind those killer sales techniques, all thanks to Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling. Now, what I love about this book is its practicality.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not some stuffy theoretical jargon.
Right?
It's chock full of actionable advice you can actually use. And speaking of actionable, what's fascinating is how Tracy illustrates these concepts. He doesn't just tell you about, say, the income thermostat. He weaves in this wild story about it like this, a satellite dish salesman who basically sabotages his own success because he couldn't handle his newfound wealth. Wait, hold up. Income thermostat?
Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Picture a thermostat, right?
Hmm.
But instead of controlling the temperature, it's dictating how much money you believe, deep down, you deserve to earn.
Okay.
We've all got these internal limits, shaped by our past experiences, societal norms, even our childhood environments.
I see where you're going with this.
And this thermostat, it can be a real roadblock, holding us back from reaching our full earning potential.
That's both fascinating and a tad unsettling. Like, we're subconsciously putting a cap on our own success.
Precisely.
So the satellite salesman, he really self-sabotaged because he was making too much.
It's a real phenomenon. Tracy describes how this guy, who came from humble beginnings, suddenly found himself exceeding his own self-imposed income limit.
Whoa.
It created such a disconnect that he started having panic attacks, hiding away in his apartment, totally overwhelmed by his own achievements.
That is wild. That is a powerful example of how ingrained these beliefs can be. But if our self-image is holding us back, how do we, break free? How do we crank up that income thermostat?
Tracy suggests a tool that might seem surprisingly simple, yet it's incredibly powerful affirmations. Specifically, the phrase, "I like myself."
Okay, gotta admit, I like myself.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like a motivational poster. Not exactly a revolutionary sales technique. Break it down for me. How can something that simple have that much impact?
It's all about rewiring those deep-seated neural pathways in your brain. By consistently affirming, "I like myself," you're essentially flooding your subconscious with positive reinforcement.
So like mental reps at the gym, but for your self-esteem.
Exactly.
I can dig it. So it's about shifting your mindset, building that inner confidence, which then translates into greater success in all areas of life, sales included.
Right. And this ties back to Tracy's point about untapped potential. He argues that most people, utilize a mere fraction of their true capabilities. He even said to figure 10%.
10%. Seriously, that means there's a whole 90% just waiting to be unleashed. That's wow. But in terms of sales specifically, how do we tap into that other 90%? Where do we even begin?
It all starts with understanding that we all have our own unique set of strengths and talents. Sales, contrary to popular belief, isn't about fitting a certain personality mold. It's about leveraging what you're naturally good at to build relationships and connect with customers authentically.
It's not about being a cookie-cutter salesperson. It's about being you and using that authenticity to your advantage.
And that's where Tracy's emphasis on mindset really shines.
Mm-hmm.
He stresses the importance of cultivating a positive self-image, believing in yourself and your ability to succeed.
So we're building confidence, we're embracing our strengths. That's a great foundation. But how do we actually translate that inner work into actual sales, seeing those results in the real world?
That's where Tracy gets really practical. He gives you a roadmap for setting clear, actionable goals. Because top salespeople, they're not just lucky, they're intentional. They know what they want and they go after it.
Goals, right, yeah. I'm guessing it's not as simple as just wishing for more sales.
Not quite. Tracy's a big advocate for starting with a bold, even audacious goal. The exact income you want to earn in the next year. Write it down, make it real, and use that number as your guiding star.
I like that. Putting pen to paper, making it concrete, that always helps. But how do you go from that big, scary number to the day-to-day? How do you bridge that gap?
You break it down, of course. Turn that annual goal into monthly targets, then weekly targets. Suddenly, it feels a lot less overwhelming and a lot more manageable.
Right, like creating a roadmap instead of just staring at the mountain from afar.
Exactly. And it's not just about the financial goals. Tracy emphasizes setting activity goals, too.
Activity goals.
It's about identifying the specific actions that drive your sales, the calls, the meetings, the presentations, and setting clear targets for each.
Oh, I see. So you reverse engineer your success. You figure out the daily actions that are going to get you to those big goals.
It's about taking control of your success, being intentional with your time and effort. And to really take it to the next level, Tracy introduces a technique that might surprise you. Visualization.
Visualization, okay. I've tried that, I'll be honest. But I always struggle with it a little. Like, how does picturing success in my mind actually translate to, closing more deals in real life?
It's not just wishful thinking. It's about mental rehearsal. Tracy talks about this salesperson went from being totally average to a top performer just by using this technique. Every single day, this guy would vividly imagine himself nailing sales calls, handling objections like a pro, and ultimately closing those deals with confidence.
So, like athletes visualizing their winning performance, right? They mentally rehearse so that when they're in the game, it feels almost instinctive.
Exactly. And by consistently visualizing success, you're essentially programming your subconscious, strengthening those neural pathways associated with confidence and achievement. You're creating a mental blueprint for success.
It's like giving yourself that mental edge, building that unshakable belief in your ability to really seal the deal. Okay, this is all great for the salesperson, but what about the customer and all of this? How do we make sure we're not just like pushing a product, but actually genuinely meeting their needs?
That's where the art of questioning comes in. Tracy's really big on moving away from that pushy hard sell and moving into a space of genuine understanding.
Okay, yeah. How do you do that? How do you really get someone to open up about what they need without resorting to those like cheesy sales tactics?
By asking the right questions, specifically open-ended questions that encourage the customer to share more, to really open up.
Yeah.
So instead of leading with a product pitch, you become more like a curious investigator, guiding the conversation with what and how and why questions.
So the customer feels heard, understood, maybe even a little relieved that someone's finally taking the time to really listen to their needs.
Exactly. You shift from being a salesperson to becoming a trusted advisor,
Mhm.
which makes them way more receptive to what you're offering.
Makes sense. People buy from people they trust, people who seem genuinely invested in helping them, not just making a sale. Okay, so we've nurtured this lead, we've built rapport, but then there's that inevitable moment when a customer hesitates or throws out an objection. What does Tracy say about navigating those tricky waters?
Objections, right. That's the wall you got to climb over to get to that yes. What's Tracy's take on dealing with those? He's a big believer in the power of social proof. Basically showing the customer they're not alone, that other people have had this need, tried this product, and had a positive experience.
Social proof. Okay, yeah. Like when you're looking at a restaurant online and you see like hundreds of five-star reviews, it's reassuring, right? It makes you feel better about trying it.
Exactly. We're hardwired to look to others for validation, especially when we're making decisions. Tracy even used this strategy himself early in his career. He'd carry around this binder filled with customer testimonials to show prospects, and it made a huge difference in his closing rate.
A physical binder? Wow, that's old school. But I kind of love it. It's like tangible proof that other people have taken the leap and been happy with it.
Builds credibility, builds trust, which are both essential for closing deals. And speaking of trust, Tracy, surprisingly, talks a lot about the importance of appearance in sales.
Okay, now this is where I might push back a little. Appearance. Does that really move the needle that much in sales? Isn't it more about the product, the service, the value you bring to the table?
Of course, those are all critical,
Yeah.
but we can't discount the impact of first impressions.
Mhm.
Tracy points out this fascinating trend. The companies with the highest performing sales teams often also have the sharpest dressed salespeople.
Mhm.
And it all ties back to what psychologists call the halo effect.
Halo effect. All right, you got to break that one down for me.
It's a cognitive bias where our overall impression of someone is influenced by how we perceive their individual traits. So in this case, if a salesperson shows up looking professional, looking put together, it unconsciously creates this association of competence, of trustworthiness, and that extends to the product they're selling.
So, like, I'm thinking they look sharp, their product must be sharp too.
Exactly. It's all about aligning your outward presentation with the level of professionalism and quality you want to project.
Okay, I'm sold. Time to up my wardrobe game. But seriously, we've covered a lot. Mindset, goal setting, visualization, questioning techniques, social proof, even the clothes we wear. It's a lot to process.
It is, and that's why Tracy emphasizes persistence as one of the most important qualities of a successful salesperson.
Mm.
They don't give up easily. They understand that a no doesn't always mean no forever.
Persistence, I like it. It's about staying the course even when things get tough.
And it goes back to understanding the psychology of the sale. Sometimes a no is just a request for more information, more time to think it over, maybe even just a reflection of the customer's mood that day.
I've totally been guilty of saying no too quickly and then, like, circling back later when I've had time to digest.
It happens to all of us. Persistence isn't about being pushy. It's about demonstrating that genuine commitment to helping the customer find the best solution.
It's about building that relationship, not just going for the quick win. Okay, so we've nurtured the lead, built rapport, navigated objections. Now it's the final hurdle, closing the deal. Any tips from Tracy on how to stick that landing?
He talks about a technique called the approach close, and it's all about shifting the energy from a hard sell to more of a collaborative conversation.
Okay, I'm listening. Approach close.
So instead of directly pitching the product, you're really aiming to get the prospect to buy into just hearing you out, considering the possibilities.
Hmm.
You might say something like, before we get into the specifics, would you be open to hearing how other businesses in your industry have benefited from this approach?
Ah, so you're not asking for a yes. You're just asking for permission to share valuable information.
Exactly.
And by framing it in the context of what's worked for others, you're kind of like subtly weaving in that social proof element again.
Exactly.
Brilliant, subtle, but effective.
At the end of the day, sales is really about connecting with people, understanding their needs,
Yeah.
and guiding them towards a decision that benefits everyone involved.
Right.
And Tracy's The Psychology of Selling gives you such a powerful toolkit to do just that.
It really does. This whole conversation has been a masterclass in the art of persuasion. And the coolest part is these principles apply way beyond like traditional sales. Negotiating a raise, pitching a project, even just, trying to convince your friends to try a new restaurant. Understanding these techniques can really change the game.
It's true.
Well, this has been incredible, a fascinating deep dive into the world of sales psychology. If you're looking to level up your own persuasive powers, definitely check out The Psychology of Selling. It's a gem.
You won't regret it.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Until next time, stay curious and keep the sales soaring.